If you're struggling as a SaaS founder, here is some essential advice for you. Typically, when SaaS founders struggle, particularly in the early stages, it's usually due to one of 5 different reasons. So let's talk about each one in detail and what to do about it. Struggle number 1, no market demand. This is the deal breaker, the ultimate killer of SaaS businesses. When there is no market demand for the problem you solve, there is no business. Now, I make the distinction between that customers don't want to solve the problem that you're solving versus they want to solve the problem that you're solving. They just don't want to buy it from you, right? So the first one is there is no demand in the marketplace. The second issue is market demand exists. They're just not buying from you, right? That's a very different kind of problem. When that exists, it's for one of 2 or 3 different reasons. Problem number 1 is that what you're trying to build isn't what they actually want, right? You've missed the market in some way, shape, or form. To solve this particular issue, what you want to do is spend more time with customers. Hands down, the single best way to build a product that customers really value is to spend time with customers, preferably in person, preferably for at least 1 month. Now, I don't mean send out surveys. I don't mean imagine yourself walking in their shoes as some sort of philosophical or metaphorical journey. I mean, literally go to their offices, sit next to them, and watch them do their work, or better yet, volunteer that you'll do their job for them for an entire month if they will teach you how to do the work, right? You literally want to become the user of your product. You want to literally walk in their footsteps by doing their actual job. When you do that, you understand the problem firsthand with great clarity. And that is foundational for taking technology skills to build a product. To build a product to solve a problem, you have to understand the problem itself. The third area where SaaS founders often struggle is around generating sales. So the market exists, they want to solve a problem, they're buying products, they bought yours on some small occasions, your product works, customers are happy. But you're not selling a lot to new customers and new prospects. That is a sales growth issue. One of the single most important things you need to realize as a founder of a SaaS company is that's the importance of sales and marketing, and that it's a separate and distinct skill set that requires a certain degree of experience and expertise to pull off well, right? If that is not your background, if you're more of a product founder or more of a technical founder, you have to appreciate the enormous importance of sales and marketing and recognize it for what it is. Where I see a lot of technical founders in particular struggle is they think that if they just build the best product, they should win in the marketplace. Now, the best product in the world that nobody knows about doesn't sell. It doesn't sell by itself. Now, there are some exceptions with product-led growth, right? And I think there are some mega successes that have relied on product-led growth to pull that off. But the majority of companies need some expertise in sales and marketing, whether it's product-led or otherwise, in order to generate sales. It does not happen typically by itself. And if it does, it's the exception. And guess what? You're not the exception. You're the rule. So appreciate sales and marketing as its own skill, has its own importance. And if you don't have it personally, you need to get those skills on your team in some way, shape, or form. Now, the fourth area where founders often struggle is in growing sales beyond, I would say, right around 3, 4, 5 million in annual recurring revenue. And here's why. The skill sets needed to run sales and marketing from, say, 5 million to 25 million and above is very different than the sales and marketing skills needed to run a business from, say, 0 million to 1, 2, or 3 million. It is a different sales process and a different sales skill. I'll give you an example as to why. When you're at 5 million in sales, you have a sales process that works. You have products that work. You have a methodology of getting clients. You have a methodology of selling to them, and you have a methodology of making them happy. When a new head of sales comes in at 5, 10, or 15 million in sales, they're going to look at what's working. They have 3 or 4 account executives that are selling really well. They study what makes them successful, and then they go hire 5 more sales executives, just like the 3 or 4 that are doing well, right? That's kind of to oversimplify the skill set of someone leading sales and marketing, particularly in companies over 5 million in annual recurring revenue. Now, if you're more like getting off the ground or at 1, 2, or 3 million in annual recurring revenue, you don't necessarily have a sales process that works really well consistently, no matter who is actually executing the sales process. You more typically have one person, maybe two, that are really good at sales. It might be you as the founder. It might be your first salesperson you hired many years ago. And they have sort of the secret sauce, if you would, of getting sales done that's not yet replicatable and transferable as a skill to new hires. And so you can't just always hire someone with more sales experience in the early stages and expect them to sell, because the process for selling has not been figured out yet. What you need in the early stages is someone that's more experimental. So if you think of someone who's experimenting in R&D, you need someone similar in sales and marketing. Very experimental, trying different things, figuring out what works. That is not the typical skill set of someone that's in sales as a professional over a long career. They're usually focused more on using what works and doing more of it, rather than troubleshooting and figuring out why it's not working and getting it to work. Okay? Very, very different skill set. Again, early stage sales and marketing skills, very different than later stage. Now, what this means for you as a founder is if you are in that early stage, right, call it 0 to maybe 3 or 4 million in annual recurring revenue, you personally have to have knowledge of sales and marketing or a really highly trusted, highly capable co-founder. If you do not understand sales and marketing at that stage, and then you just go hire someone to do sales and marketing for you, it's a very high failure rate in those situations. You have to acquire those skill sets and a base level of knowledge of how sales and marketing works. You can delegate sales and marketing, but you still have to understand it, right? So that level of proficiency and competency, extremely important for founders, particularly in earlier stage companies. Finally, the fifth area where a lot of SaaS founders, probably every single SaaS founder I've ever met and worked with, has come across this issue. The ones that succeed are able to overcome it. What am I talking about? I'm talking about hitting a growth ceiling. There are 3 ceilings that you need to be aware of where as you grow, you will hit an obstacle that prevents your business from growing larger. The first growth ceiling that you need to be mindful of is in your own skill set. As the company grows, it requires a different level of skills needed to lead it. And if you want to double and triple sales, you have to double and triple your skill set as a SaaS founder if you want to continue to lead the company. It's not logical to expect to triple the business while not tripling your own personal skill set. So keep that in mind. Second area where there's a growth ceiling is in your key early employees. The employees that get you from 0 to 5 million in revenue are not the ones that get you from 5 to 25 million in revenue. So you have to keep an eye out on them to see, is the growth being constrained by their skill sets or by their lack of the next level of skill needed to take the company to the next level. And so I think of management teams as a relay race. Like, I love track and field in the Olympics. I love the relay races. They pass the baton from one runner that gets the race started at the beginning to a different runner, to a different one, to finally one that closes out the race at the very end. Those are different skills. And so you have to be very brutally honest with both yourself and in assessing your team. What are they good at? And at what point does the business outgrow their capabilities, their skills, and their experience set? It always happens at some point in the growth of the company. You need to be aware. The last area where there's a potential growth ceiling is around the company's strategic decisions. Okay? Now, what I mean by strategic decisions is, who is your target customer? Most people often, the customer they start with as their target customer versus the one they end up with when they're at 30, 40, 50 million in annual recurring revenue, often very, very different. And even from 1 million in annual recurring revenue to, say, 7 million in annual recurring revenue, there needs to be a shift oftentimes in order to pull off that revenue growth. So the selection of the target customer, what product footprint you're trying to offer to that customer in terms of what you're trying to solve for them, what distribution strategy you use. Do you sell directly to them? Is it more of a self-service e-commerce model? Do you have a sales force? Are you using partners? Right? The distribution channels you use to reach and sell to customers is a major factor. And then pricing, right? Those 4 or 5 decisions encompass an approach to tackling and serving a particular market. If you get those decisions incorrect, what will happen is the business will grow, for sure, to a point, and then it'll stop. And so I see this a lot, right? And oftentimes when you hit a growth plateau or ceiling, you have to reevaluate those decisions to see if they're still serving you, or if you need to make a refinement, which is extremely common. Probably 90% plus of the companies I work with that break through 5 million and get to 10 million or above have had to make some adjustment, right, in those key strategic decisions. So those are ceilings that you need to be mindful of as you grow. So keep those 5 common SaaS founder struggles in mind as you grow, keep an eye out for it, and be proactive in trying to address them as you scale. I hope you found this video useful. If you'd like to get more videos just like this one, be sure to subscribe to my channel, add any questions or comments below. I'll be sure to answer them. Until then, keep on scaling and look out for the gotchas that might slow you down.